Hello from Gardening at Douentza here in Ireland, and today I'm going to talk about one of my favourite plants, the Streptocarpus. I'm going to talk about the pros and cons of growing these wonderful plants, and I'm also going to give you a brief run through of the ones I have in flower at the moment now in November. Alright, so let's get on to the pros of growing these fantastic plants. And I suppose the first one is just really obvious how beautiful these flowers are. And if we look here at this particular one here, a gorgeous pink one, you can see really wonderful. And these plants flower all summer long if you manage them well. So that's the first thing in their favour. Unlike orchids or many other house plants that come and go, these ones just keep on giving. The second advantage is that Streptocarpus flower from very small plants. So you can see this, this one here, it's in a very small pot and already it's flowering. So they flower quickly and easily from cuttings. And the third thing in their favour is that Streptocarpus are dead easy to propagate. All you need to do is take a leaf cutting. Now I'm not going to go into the detail of that here, but suffice it to say that they are very easy and quick to propagate, and that means that you can have cheap plants to share around with your friends. And now moving on to the downside, because there's always a downside, isn't there? And unfortunately with these plants, what they do need is regular attention. So you need to be constantly making sure that you deadhead the flowers, removing the spent flowers, checking the leaves to make sure that there's no material that needs to be taken off there. So they're not like orchids where you can leave them alone for a week or two and not worry about it. These are ones that you need to be constantly on top of. And also if we look over here at the leaves, Streptocarpus do need a lot of space because their leaves must not touch. Now the way I have all these plants bundled together, the leaves are overlapping, but normally one Streptocarpus plant shouldn't touch another, otherwise you run into all kinds of terrible problems like mildew and stuff that once you get them, they're quite hard to shake off. And the third disadvantage of Streptocarpus is that, you know, if we look at a nice large plant here, and if we look down in the centre, you can see this is quite a mature plant that I've had for several years. And that's the disadvantage. They're short-lived plants. Once a plant gets to this size, they begin to die off in the middle and they lose vigour. And then you need to be propagating them again from leaf cutting so that you can have that vigour and have that freshness. So you need to be constantly on top of it. Unfortunately, Streptocarpus do not divide well. You can try it. I know you'll have to. If you have a big plant, you've got to try dividing it before you finally put that thing in the bin. But when you do divide them, the plants will grow, but what happens is they lose vigour and they're very slow to reflower. So leaf cuttings is the way to go, which is a terrible shame because it really, you know, it goes against the grain to have to throw out a wonderful plant that's this big and good looking. So now I've talked about the pros and cons of growing these plants. It's time for the good bit. It's time to give you a quick run through of what I currently have in flower. And you know, we're well into November at this stage, and yet I have so many glorious flowers. So that really just pinpoints the kind of wonderful thing you can expect from Streptocarpus. Now I have a variety of streps here from different countries. I have tended to favour European ones because I'm in Europe, but I know there are lots of American hybrids out there that I wouldn't really have experience of, and Japanese ones as well. The main players on the European Streptocarpus stage have got to be, in England, the Dibley's people, and that's represented here on the table by this lovely crystal ice plant. Now unfortunately, Dibleys were my first streps, and I grew lovely big and bushy plants, but most of them have come to a sad end this summer because, as we already said, you know, they are short-lived things. But crystal ice is famous for the fact that it's supposedly the first continuously flowering Streptocarpus. It's meant to flower all through the winter. So this is a small plant, but we'll see. So that's the only Dibley's one I have on the table now. I also want to show you this beautiful purple Streptocarpus that I got from Simon Jones in the UK. Now, we did a swap and he sent this to me from his own collection. I don't know if he's a very well-known hybridizer, but it's certainly a lovely one and a good dark flower. It's even darker than DS-Siberia over there. But in terms of the European front, I suppose the second biggest player has got to be the Ukrainian Dimetris nursery. And that's represented here by, well, a couple of plants, a couple of these dark ones. So here we have DS-Siberia, which is just newly come into flower for me. Very large flowers, very dark. Unfortunately, this one doesn't have a very strong stem. To the left of it, we have another one from Dimetris, and this one, I'm not going to try and pronounce the Russian names. All of these Ukrainian ones have Russian names that, you know, I mean, I don't speak Russian, but I'll give you an English translation and write the Russian names up somewhere. So this one is called Beyond Two Souls. Isn't that very poetic? And this is my favorite dark one. Nice dark flowers, stems that are quite sturdy and hold the flowers aloft, and yeah, it makes a really nice display. Now, Dimetris is the name of the nursery that has hybridized these Streptocarpus, but the gentleman himself is Enikeyev, and you can always recognize his Streptocarpus because the name has the prefix DS dash in front of it, DS standing for Dimetris. I also have a number of Russian hybrids. And what we're looking at now is a lovely one by Paramonov. And this one is called Spring Daydreams in English anyway. Again, I'll put the Russian name up somewhere. And I'm really impressed with how it's turned out this year. I think I wasn't so impressed with it last year, but when you have this glorious cluster of flowers with something like a frosted stained glass window effect in terms of markings, it really is most attractive. And another Russian one I have is this pink one here at the front called Fendi. No idea what that means. And this is from the Kabanova Trofimenko team, also Russian. And this actually is one of my favorites. Wonderful. Normally, you know, it's got really sturdy stems, so the flowers hold themselves up really well. Large leaves that look quite graceful on it, and I love the frilliness around the edges of the flowers. A really attractive one. This plant in front of us now is called Pink Leyla, and it's a German hybrid from the Fleischle nursery. Very reliable one. This is one of my first ones as well, and you know, the Dibley's ones have come and gone, but this one is still going strong. Very pretty. And the final thing I want to show you is a couple of things that I have in the offing at the moment. So they're being propagated. And this is quite exciting because this is my first US hybrid. And it's a beautiful fantasy type. You see how the colours on this petal are two different colours mixed together, spliced together. Well, that type of Streptocarpus is called a fantasy type. And this particular one is called Spin Art by Thompson in the US. So I'm quite delighted to see this one coming up. And usually with the fantasy types, they cannot come true from leaf cuttings, but this has come true from the first go, so that's quite good. So, you know, somebody can give you a leaf from a fantasy type, and when yours eventually gets to flower, it can be just purple or just pink. It doesn't have the interesting mix of spliced colours in it. Quite unstable, really, and that makes it so attractive. And there you go. That brings me to the end of the video. If you already grow Streptocarpus, I hope the information in this video in terms of different hybrids will be useful to you and you might feel inspired to try some of them yourself. And if you're thinking about growing Streptocarpus, well, now you're fully appraised of the pros and cons, so you've no excuse. The last thing I wanted to say to you just before I wrap this video up is that Gardening at Douentza now has a page on Facebook, and I'm going to put a link to that page in the details on this video. So please do go in there and click like and all that kind of thing. I upload photos regularly to the Facebook page, so you know, well, you'll get to see what's probably coming up in videos fairly soon, and the videos of course are copied on there. Right, that's all for now. Thanks very much for watching, and bye!